Okay, margins and paddings. What are these things and why are they so important? Well, we're going to use these a ton, so I really want to cover this so you understand everything. Okay, so we talked about how the browser basically put some default styles already on our elements, and we saw that there's this big space with the header and heading 1 here. So look at the space between this and the button. And the way we can look at that is if we tap F12 in the browser, and then if we go over to this tool here, click it, and if we hover over, or optionally you can just go down here to the elements, and if I hover over, you're going to see that there's the element which has a blue color to it, and then there's an orange color that has that space. So that orange color is actually the margin, okay? And as you can see, it just gives space between the elements. And if we go down to the button, now this is kind of hard to see, so let me zoom in. You're gonna see that there is a green one as well besides the orange one. So what is that? That's weird. All right, well, let's see. The green one is the padding, but why and how is that any different than the margin? Okay, let's take a look at the difference. So I'm gonna zoom a bit back out, but I'm still gonna be zoomed in so you guys can see. Okay, so here it is. Let's actually see how we can add a margin and padding. So let's just get the button here, okay? And if I add a margin, I just write margin, and I'm gonna say 100 pixels. So that's gonna add 100 pixels of margin. Hit save. As you can see, it actually applies the margin everywhere, top, left, bottom, and right. Okay, so if you just say it like this, margin 100, that's going to add space up, left, bottom, and right everywhere. All right, if we change this 50, you can see that as well. If we check here, you're going to see that that orange grew a ton. Okay, so that's cool. But what happens if we add a padding? So if I add a padding of 50 pixels, that's going to grow the element, but it's going to be the inner space, as you can see. So if we take a look again, as you can see, the element itself grew. Okay, so that's the difference between padding and margin. The margin is going to be on the outside of the element, and the padding is going to be on the inside of the element. Now, if we do this on the H1, it might be hard to see. As you can see, it kind of looks the same as margin. So if I change this to margin 2, it looks identical. However, this gets changed a bit as soon as we start adding a background color. So take a look. On the padding, if I add a background color of crimson, as you can see, this is the size of the element. And if we click on this button, you're going to see that if I hover over the H1, look how large this H1 got. Okay, this is going to be the inside space. However, if I change this to the margin, then the element itself is going to stay the same size and it's just going to add the spacing outside. Okay, so let's take a look, and there we go. Look at that, that just gives the empty space. So that's all you have to remember. Margin is going to add the space outside, and the padding is going to be on the inside. Okay, that's the only difference. Now let's see different ways that we can add paddings and margins. I apologize. So this is the first way we saw. If we just add 50 pixels like this, and that's going to apply it everywhere on each side. However, if I add another value here, let's actually do this on the button because it's going to be a bit easier to see. Button, hit save, and what I'm gonna do is change this to padding, just because it's going to be a bit easier to visualize. Okay, so we have 50, 50, 50, 50. If I add another value here, let's say 20 pixels, then what's going to happen is as soon as you have two values, the first value is going to be applied to top and bottom, and the second value is going to be applied to left and right. So here we have 50 on top, 50 on bottom, and here we have 20 on left and 20 on right. If I want to add custom on all four, then I can add two more values. I can say 10 pixels and 5 pixels. So what happens here is we count clockwise from up here all the way around. So the first one, 50 pixels, is going to be top. The second one, 20 pixels, is going to be right. So there's 20 pixel space here. The third one is going to be 10 pixels here on the bottom and 5 pixels here on the left. So if I say 0 pixels here, there's not going to be any additional space. As you can see, the button hits the corner perfectly there. So you just count from top all the way around, and that's how you can add it. So this is actually a very simple way of doing it. You need to wrap your head around it a bit. You need to drink your coffee first in the morning, and then it's gonna click with you more. But there's another way you can do this, is by actually typing it out like this: padding top, and then you can add 20 pixels, or padding left and right and bottom and all the other ones. You can type them out like this individually too, but this is a bit more. Let me change this so it kind of matches the one up here. 50, and then down here left is gonna, let's do right, is 20. And then we have on the bottom, we have 10, and then padding left is gonna be 0. Okay, so take a look. This should technically override this up here. So if I remove this, it's going to be the same thing, as you can see. Okay, if I change this to 100, now this is going to change. But take a look at how much code we write here and how much code we write here. So I highly recommend you to practice with this. And in case you don't need a property, maybe I just want to add 50. Maybe I just want to add 50 top, right I want 0, and bottom I want 0. I can just change these to 0 like this, and it's still gonna work the same way, as you can see. Oh, never mind, I messed something up. So let's take a look again. 50 top, okay, that's good. All right, so here it would be 0 because we have 0 here and here 0, and that should work fine. But in this case, if we only have 1, then it's fine to just use padding top if you just only want to add it to one side. But generally, you're going to see that you're going to use a lot of either one value or with 2 values. So either adding it everywhere or adding top, bottom, and left and right. So this is top, bottom, and now it's left and right. Okay, so it's going to take a bit of practice, but it's okay because we're going to get a ton of it with these paddings and these margins. So as you can see again now, if I just have 2 values, the first one is going to be top and bottom 50, and on the left and right, it's going to be 0. Okay, so it's not that complicated. It's quite simple. All you have to remember is that margins are going to be on the outside of the element, are going to add spacing on the outside, and paddings are going to be added on the inside of the element. Okay, perfect. Next up, we are going to use we're going to explain the box model. What's a box model? Well, you will find out in the next episode, so stay tuned.